day and welcome to the Deep Dive. In the relentless fight against illegal drugs here in the Philippines, how can we ensure that justice is served without sacrificing the very principles our legal system is built upon?
That's a critical question.
Yeah, what happens when those crucial steps in handling evidence, well, when they're not strictly followed? Can a conviction stand if doubts linger about the integrity of the evidence, especially, in cases involving dangerous stuff like shabu?
It's a huge challenge.
Today, we're diving deep into a Supreme Court case that really highlights these questions.
We're looking at the people of the Philippines versus Shager Lacdan y Parto. That's GR No 232161 from August 14, 2019. It's quite revealing about process.
It really is. It shows how the highest court looks not just at the crime, but crucially how the evidence was gathered and handled.
Exactly. It's all about that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between enforcing the law and protecting individual rights.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to understand the intricacies of this chain of custody rule in Philippine drug cases, using this Lacdan case as our guide.
Let's trace it back. It started, March 2nd, 2013?
That's right. PO2 Alexander Galega got a tip about Shager Lacdan allegedly being involved in illegal drug activities. This was in San Pedro, Laguna.
Standard procedure then, they formed a buy-bust team.
Yep. PO2 Galega was assigned as the posier buyer, the one pretending to buy drugs.
And PO2 Emeterio Vergara was the arresting officer, ready to move in.
So the next day, March 3rd, the operation happens. PO2 Galega, supposedly with a confidential informant, allegedly bought one small plastic sachet from Lacdan.
Just 0.04 grams of shabu, apparently, for PHP 200.
Right after the supposed transaction, Lacdan was arrested. They say they recovered the marked PK 200 bill from him.
And PO2 Galega marked the sachet.
Yes. He marked it SLB right there at the incident location.
Okay, marking at the scene, that's one step, but then comes the inventory and photos. When does that happen?
See, that happened later, at the police station.
Not immediately at the place of arrest.
According to the record, no. At the station. And Shager Lacdan was there, plus a media representative, Ding Bermudez.
Okay, media rep present.
Right.
But Section 21 of RA 9165 is pretty specific, isn't it? It requires more witnesses.
Exactly. And this became a major point later. There was no representative from the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and no elected public official present during that inventory and photography at the station.
And no reason given in the record for their absence.
Apparently not, or at least not one the Supreme Court found justifiable. After that, they prepared requests for the lab exam of the sachet and a drug test for Lacdan.
Then Galega and Vergara took Lacdan and the sachet to the crime lab.
Correct. And PO2 Galega handed the sachet, the evidence, to someone described as the receiving clerk.
Yes. A receiving clerk. Unnamed.
Seems so, based on the testimony discussed by the Supreme Court. Then forensic chemist Donna Villashugas examined the specimen.
And she found it positive for methamphetamine hydrochloride. That was Chemistry Report D-15413.
Right. So, based on all that, the Regional Trial Court, the RTC, found Lacdan guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Section 5, Article 2 of RA 9165.
And the sentence?
Life imprisonment, plus a PHP 500,000 fine. Pretty severe.
Wow. And Lacdan appealed, naturally.
He did, to the Court of Appeals. But the CA upheld the RTC's decision.
What was the CA's reasoning?
Well, essentially, they relied on the presumption of regularity, the idea that police officers perform their duties properly.
The presumption.
Yeah. And they also said that, look, strict compliance with the chain of custody isn't always needed as long as the drug's integrity and evidentiary value are preserved.
So the CA felt the positive lab result was enough to overcome any procedural hiccups.
It seems that way. They felt the core evidence, the drug itself, was sufficiently identified and its integrity maintained despite, the deviations.
But that's where the Supreme Court stepped in and took a very different view.
Precisely. The big question for the Supreme Court was that chain of custody rule, the one laid out in Section 21 of RA 9165, actually followed properly by the prosecution?
And their answer was a clear no.
A resounding no, really. They reversed the CA, set aside the conviction, and acquitted Shager Lacdan.
So let's break down why. What specific breaks in the chain did the SC find?
Okay, first link, seizure and marking. The marking itself, SLB, was done at the scene, but the inventory and photos, done at the station, not immediately after arrest, and crucially, without the required DOJ rep and elected official.
Only the media guy was there. And the court stressed you need all three or a really good justifiable reason why not.
Exactly. And they found no justifiable reason offered for why the other two weren't present. That lack of immediate inventory with all witnesses at the scene was a major red flag for the SC.
Undermines transparency right from the start, doesn't it?
It does. Then the second link, the turnover at the police station. Who actually handled the evidence there?
Wasn't it PO2 Gallega?
He remained in possession for a time, yes, but the testimony was apparently unclear about whether he formally turned it over to a specific investigating officer. It created, like, a potential gap. Who had it? Was it secured properly?
Right. No clear record, more doubt. What about the third link? At the crime lab?
That was another big one. PO2 Gallega said he gave the sachet to a receiving clerk, but this clerk
Was never identified or presented in court.
correct. So the court couldn't know how that clerk handled the evidence or how it got from the clerk to forensic chemist Hjulgas. Another gap.
You need to account for every single person who handles the evidence. That's the whole point of the chain.
Absolutely. And even the fourth link, handling within the lab and for court presentation, wasn't perfectly established. While chemist Hjulgas testified, she gave it to the evidence custodian and got it back for court.
The custodian's handling procedures weren't detailed.
The SC noted that the specific handling and storage by the custodian weren't really shown in court. More questions about safeguarding the evidence.
So it wasn't just one small mistake. It was a series of deviations and unexplained gaps.
Exactly. The Supreme Court wasn't just nitpicking. They cited previous rulings, like Malin v. People and others, emphasizing how critical this chain of custody is, especially with drugs that are, easily swapped or contaminated.
The corpus delicti, the drug itself, its identity and integrity must be proven beyond doubt. And these procedural safeguards are designed precisely for that.
And the failure to follow the three-witness rule during inventory without a good reason, combined with these other gaps, well, it created too much doubt.
A reasonable doubt about whether the shabu presented in court was definitely the same shabu allegedly seized from Lacdan.
Yes, and when there's reasonable doubt.
The presumption of innocence wins. The prosecution didn't meet its burden.
Which led to the acquittal and the order for Lacdan's immediate release, unless held for other reasons, a powerful reminder of procedural importance. So, considering this Supreme Court decision, the People versus Lacdan, what does this really say about that tightrope walk between effective drug enforcement and protecting individual rights here?
It underscores that effectiveness can't come at the cost of legality and fairness. The rules are there for a reason.
How vital is this meticulous following of procedural safeguards? Is it just bureaucracy, or is it fundamental to ensuring justice is not only done, but is seen to be done?
Oh, it's fundamental. It builds trust in the system. When corners are cut, even with good intentions perhaps, it undermines the whole process.
We really want to hear what you think about this. Share your thoughts on this crucial ruling in the comments. Did the Supreme Court get it right? Let us know. And please, hit that favorite button if you found this deep dive useful.
And just to quickly recap those key legal ideas floating around here.
First, chain of custody. Think of it as the evidence's documented journey who had it, when from seizure right up to the courtroom, it's all about proving it wasn't messed with.
Then, corpus delicti. Literally, the body of the crime. In drug cases, that's the illegal drug itself. Its existence and identity must be proven.
Third, that cornerstone. The presumption of innocence. Everyone's innocent until the prosecution proves guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It's their job, not the accused's job, to prove innocence.
And finally, that three-witness rule from Section 21. Inventory and photos right after seizure, with the accused, media rep, DOJ rep, and an elected official. While exceptions exist if the drug's integrity is truly safe, unexplained absences, like in Lacdan's case, are a serious problem for the prosecution.
Don't miss our next in-depth analysis of critical legal and societal issues shaping the Philippines. Subscribe to the Deep Dive now and stay informed. Your support is what helps us bring these important discussions to you.